Cheers. Hi there. My name is Ned Kelly, chair of the Libertarian Party of Kansas. This is Mary Gerlt. Recently ran for office for Wyandotte County, a nonpartisan race for commissioner. The primary was just a couple of days ago, and unfortunately she did not make it into the top two. She was third place, but she won't be going forward into the November election. But we're still celebrating. We're cheersing to all the good successes of this campaign, and we're going to talk about that, the heartbreak and the triumph along the way.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Mary, you might remember this Mary Gerlt from last year. She ran for lieutenant governor. That was a partisan race. She was the Libertarian Party candidate for lieutenant governor, along with Jeff Caldwell. Very extensive, big race, traveling all over the state.
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge. If you do that, make sure you have time to do it, because it is a lot of work.
For a big statewide race like that. That was her foray, her jump into the political arena was a big race like that. So she said, no more big races, at least statewide races for now.
At least for now. Statewide races, especially if you're in a state that is as big geographically as Kansas, you may need to drive a whole day to get to the other side and back. Yeah, I would recommend you make sure you have the time to put in the proper commitment for it.
So you decided this year to do something easy.
This is going to be so much easier. It's just one county, and it's not even just one county, it's one district of a county. How hard can that be?
Apparently pretty hard. She was out there all the time. She was knocking on doors. I did this much compared to how much she did along the way. Attending forums, if you do choose to run for local office, and part of why we're doing this video today is to encourage you, libertarians out there, to run for local office.
Yeah, you should do it.
You can run at any level. You can be a paper candidate where you just get your name on the ballot. You can put a little more work into it than that and answer the questionnaires that you're going to receive, and send those back and try to get some publicity. And then you can go all out and do your best to win. Raise money and attend the forums and events and knock on doors and put out signs and hand out literature and do as many interviews as you can. And Mary did all that stuff. So it was pretty heartbreaking when you got the news that you didn't make it.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty heartbreaking. And I didn't know how I was going to feel about it if I didn't win. Especially because, going into it, I thought, well, I'm a libertarian. It's hard for libertarians to win races. But I did have going for me that it was nonpartisan, so that always helps us in these sorts of things. But yeah, I had a lot of public support in the community. I had a lot of people who were rallying behind me and believed in me. And, it seemed like I actually had a really good chance to move on, at least past the primary. Some people thought it was going to be a slam dunk, and I was definitely going to be the people's choice, at least compared to the incumbent. But it didn't turn out that way, but I was very proud of the results that I did get. Between three people in the race, I got 22%. So
22% in a three-way race, that's really, really respectable. You said that you were glad that you were sad because that made you realize how much you really did care about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if going into the race that I expected to get so emotionally involved in this. Last year it was very exciting to yeah, it's not in here. It's summertime.
And so she was walking around knocking on doors in this Kansas City heat. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying about last year in the gubernatorial.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, last year was an incredible experience, but we knew it was a long shot. Here we are, libertarian candidate in a big statewide race. So, we got 2%, and that we felt like that was respectable. So I went into this race a little bit differently. It's much more limited. It's smaller population. I thought I could really reach people and probably stand a good chance of getting somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
And you did. You reached a lot of people. You were worried that you were going to let your supporters down, but you didn't. I talked to all of them, and we're proud of you, and we're not disappointed, and we're glad you ran.
Aww.
Yeah. All right. So here's some questions for you, Miss Candidate. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Firstly, I would start a lot earlier. I got started kind of late in this campaign. I basically waited until the filing deadline to start campaigning. You don't need to do that. I found out you can start campaigning way in advance if you want. Months in advance. It would have been probably easier if I had start going out in the community and saying, "Hey, I'm running for this position." If I had gotten my literature already at that point and started distributing it, and going around contacting those community organizations who might support me and say, "Hey, here's what I want to do. I think I could, we can help each other."
So if you're thinking about running in 2020, it's not too soon to start talking to people about it and laying that groundwork. Yeah. But if you're watching this and it is 2020, it's not too late to run. You still should run if you're thinking about running. Again, as a libertarian, there's so many reasons to run. I think we'll do at least explore a separate video about all the reasons you should run. Get the name out there, educate people, learn how to run. This is a great educational opportunity.
It is, and don't be scared to run. I know it seems intimidating, and it can be intimidating, but it's really actually a lot of fun.
So what did you learn about your local government during this campaign?
Oh my. Well, I learned that my local government is very corrupt. And I know we tend to focus on the national government and the state government, how they can be very corrupt, but at the local level, it's like a whole different kind of corruption because it's so personal to people. People have lived here in this one place for their whole lives, and so you have multiple generations who have dealt with a certain problem sometimes, and so people come to you and they're giving you all this backstory and you're hearing it from multiple angles and you're not really sure who to believe, and it's kind of like getting 7 different soap operas thrown at you at once. And I think the difficult thing for me in running for a local race is sometimes finding where is the libertarian position on some of these issues, because some of it just comes down to I don't know, kind of like Family Feud sort of level of issue, but still corruption. And like, how do we solve that? How do we get to the bottom of it? I haven't feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of the issue. So it's definitely not just as cut and dried as in a state race where you can say like, this is the party position on this issue. End of story.
Sure. What was one of your favorite moments during this campaign?
Oh, favorite moments. I want to say that one of my favorite moments was actually doing the forums. That was actually one of the most stressful points too, because it's very nerve-wracking to stand up and be on stage in front of a room full of people and say things that might really offend them, not just offend them in their politics, but offend them personally, because you're saying things that go against candidates who they've stood behind for years, who their families know. It's a very deeply rooted sort of thing. But at the end of it all, people come up to you and they shake your hand and they say, "I like what you had to say. I think you have good ideas." And so I think just because that was such a great exposure moment to get to know people and for people to get to know me, that's why it was my favorite thing.
Cool. At one of these forums, somebody asked you why you thought taxation is theft, which I thought was interesting because you never led with that. That's not something you were doing like in your face during the campaign. somebody just they maybe saw you on Facebook, saw some post we had done, for, a tax day protest or something, where you were carrying a sign that said taxation is that, whatever. But so stuff like that. Again, it was a nonpartisan race, and she wasn't like leading with that in the campaign if people asked about it. So I thought it was interesting. She still got to educate people and talk about, some of these, free market solutions. And, have you thought about not using violence and force and the gun of government in your face to find solutions to these local problems? So I think you were able to make people, at times you used the word libertarian, and they got to hear that word for the first time in their life. At times you simply were able to introduce them to ideas that blew their mind. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
In a local race like this.
Yeah, it was definitely very cool to get to expose some people to things. And sometimes you're explaining an issue that's near and dear to your heart to somebody who doesn't understand it. They've never been exposed to it, and when you kind of see them nodding their head as you're saying it, you kind of get goosebumps, and you're like, oh my gosh, like somebody's seeing the light. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So it was this. I let Mary be sad for about a minute because it was disappointing. But then I had to remind her that this was a success. And if you run for local office and whatever happens, even when there's a mountain of a challenge before you, if you can make a dent, if you can introduce one new person to the ideas of liberty, to the non-aggression principle, then it's a success. And this was clearly a great success. So we're celebrating that. What is next for you in your political future?
Well, first I'm going to sleep for about a month. And take a break. I don't know specifically what I'm going to do next, but I do know that after doing this local race and learning more about this community, where I haven't really lived here for very long, at least in this particular town. I've been in the kind of the metro area, but I've learned more about what I want to do, or the issues that I really want to tackle. So I'm not sure what I'll run for in the future. I'll probably run again for something. Maybe not this next year, but maybe the following year. But I mean, as soon as the news came out that I lost, actually people were already kind of contacting me, emailing me, calling me, and saying, we got to get you into something else. We're going to, what about this? You can move on to this. And of course, in that moment, I was too exhausted. I'm like, oh, please don't. Please don't. But I mean, it's very flattering and very amazing that people want me to keep trying and keep this message going.
Yeah, very cool. All right, ready to wrap this up here. Do you have any last parting thoughts for our viewers, our friends out there, our liberty lovers?
Yes, just to echo what you said before, again, I would encourage anybody to run. A lot of you have run before. Do it again. Like you said, even if you just do a paper candidate, that's something. You don't have to do a, balls out campaign like some crazy people like me do. But you can, and it's a great learning experience. And it can be scary. I understand that. I mean, nobody was more scared than I was, and nobody felt more intimidated. But you have to move past that. It's not as bad as you think it is, and you are more qualified than you think you are. And I mean, this guy right here, he's the one who convinced me that I could do this, and I could be a candidate, and I could be a politician, and that I can be a winner.
And she is. Hey, are you keeping the website? I'm going to pull this up real quick here.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool website. YouGoGerlt.com. I hope you're keeping that because I'm promoting it right now.
Yes. So, yeah, a friend of mine was very clever and came up with this website
you can
domain.
take credit for it.
So, well, I'm going to have a cool name.
So YouGoGerlt.com. Stay in touch with Mary Gerlt that way and on Facebook. And let's see, if you are interested in running for local office, you can check us out at LPKS, Libertarian Party of Kansas, LPKS libertarianparty.org or on Facebook. And of course, if you're not in Kansas but you want to learn more, go to lp.org, Libertarian Party, the national website there, lp.org. Of course, find us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. You can do it too. Run for office. Support those who do as well. And peace and freedom.
Peace.